Most discussions about aging begin with time. Years pass, cells deteriorate, energy declines. This explanation feels intuitive, but it is incomplete. Time alone does not explain why two individuals of the same age can inhabit radically different states of vitality, clarity, and resilience. An alternative framework begins not with time, but with conditions. Specifically, the conditions inside the body that quietly determine how life is processed at the cellular level. From this perspective, longevity is not primarily about living longer. It is about whether the internal environment of the body supports sustained function, or gradually accelerates wear from within. At the center of this internal environment is cellular energy regulation. Every cell must decide how to allocate energy, toward repair, adaptation, and growth, or toward mere survival. That decision is not conscious, and it is not governed by motivation or discipline. It is governed by structure. When the cellular environment is stressed for long periods, through chronic inflammation, disrupted signaling, or reduced energy capacity, cells adapt by entering a conservation mode. This is not failure. It is a protective response. The system becomes efficient at getting through the day, but inefficient at renewing itself. In this state, the body does not collapse. Instead, it slowly shifts into a pattern of quiet depletion. Energy becomes sufficient but never abundant. Recovery becomes partial. Mental clarity fluctuates. Life is endured rather than expanded. Importantly, this process is often misinterpreted as aging itself. But aging, in this framework, is not a clock. It is a trajectory. The key driver of that trajectory is the quality of the inner environment, the biochemical and energetic conditions that determine whether cells are operating in a mode of preservation or a mode of regeneration. One of the strongest indicators of this mode is mitochondrial function, not simply as energy production, but as a regulator of cellular state. When mitochondrial capacity declines, cells narrow their options. They prioritize short-term survival over long-term maintenance. Over time, this choice compounds. The organism continues forward, but at the cost of its future resilience. Conversely, when the inner environment supports clear signaling and sufficient energy capacity, cells are not forced into constant defense. Repair mechanisms remain active. Adaptation remains possible. Wear does not disappear, but it slows because the system is no longer consuming itself to function. From this viewpoint, longevity is not imposed from the outside. It emerges from internal conditions. It is not achieved by force, but by alignment. This also reframes responsibility. The question is not whether an individual is trying hard enough, or optimizing enough behaviors. Willpower cannot override a system that has been structurally constrained. Change occurs when conditions change. So the question becomes precise and practical. Is the internal environment of the body configured to support ongoing renewal, or is it configured to extract performance at the expense of future integrity? This is not a rejection of conventional biology, but an expansion of focus. Time still passes. Genetics still matter. But the inner environment determines how those factors are expressed. In that sense, longevity is not something you chase. It is something your system allows, or does not allow, based on how it is internally organized. And that organization, quietly and continuously, determines whether life is being supported, or slowly worn away from the inside.